Well, I've got more parts for another PC flip. I don't know why I'm still doing this. This is not profitable at all. But here we are, again, using the money from the past PC flip to flip another PC. Why am I doing this? Well, originally it was for college, but then I saw a Nintendo Switch 2 and decided that looks more reasonable. But then that's not reasonable, as we're currently in Ramageddon. So not only is PC flipping parts expensive, but also video game consoles. So let's first start off with what we got. Our first part here is the RTX 2070. Wait, isn't this the same 2070 from the first PC flip? And I say to that is yes, because the first PC flip kind of flopped. It did not rake in any cash. Nope, nobody wants a Xeon for $400. So, we're gonna go back to that PC flip and see what we can do about it. But for right now, we're gonna be reusing this 2070 in our new build. Now let's move on to our CPU. So first here we got our GPU, the RTX 2070, which we will not be testing alone today, as we got another contender. Actually, we should be testing this alone. Let's not put too much on our palette. We move on to a legendary name and friend, the i3 12100F. It's got 4 cores, 4 threads, and a whole lot of... Actually, it has value. Lots of value, actually. It's a very good budget CPU, considering that currently Ramageddon means that no DDR5 is available at all.
Unless you want to lose a limb.
But DDR4 is kind of cheaper. Not really. It is still kind of expensive, but definitely a better option. And since this little guy can support DDR4, we'll be using DDR4. Now let's move on to our motherboard. Which is this MSI. Oh, that's Wi-Fi. Nice locking mechanism. An I/O shield, plain. And it's BIOS DVD, and the board itself. This is a MSI B660 from eBay refurbishment in Canada, and it is surprisingly good looking, despite how pretty bad the VRMs look. Ugh. But what we lose in VRMs looking like hideous, we gain in pretty decent features. We got an NVMe slot, we got a CPU socket that's not scratched, four DIMMs of DDR4, and this. What is that? That no i9 is gonna ever use that extra 4-pin. Moving on. I might be bit in the ass. There is motherboard damage on this thing, which is to be expected. It is refurbished, but we need to see if this actually affects anything. So let's power it on first and see if it displays. Our MSI power supply to our MSI board, to our stock cooler, to this GT730 it pulled out a Dell, to the B660's BIOS. It works despite the cockroach looking damage on it. Alright, let's get this in the PC. So let's all put it in our case, which is a Rosewell something. I'm too lazy to figure it out. But anyways, our case here is a Rosewell, and I forgot to get my screwdriver. Oh shoot, I forgot to talk about RAM, which I have right here. These are two of the God's ugliest green sticks of RAM I have ever seen. One from Samsung, the other from Kingston. Why are we using such sadness? Well, is really simple. Ramageddon. And why does this case come with a power supply pre-installed with it? Well, originally it was gonna be an easy time. Build a PC with an iGPU and be done. But my bank account of -$4 does not allow me to get a CPU with an iGPU. And even if we did get a CPU with an iGPU, Intel doesn't have the iGPU strength in their LGA GA700 series to have that kind of iGPU budget performance. Couldn't I have just gone AM4 and just stuck a 3200 in here? Yes. And what do I say in defense for that? Absolutely nothing, actually. That is probably... Dang it. That is probably what I should have done, instead of wasting money on a B660. Our power supply would have been really awesome, by the way. It is a Seasonic 300 watt bronze, which is kind of better than the power supply we're gonna drop in here. Well, unfortunately, I don't have that kind of... I didn't have the luxury of putting a... well, I didn't have the I didn't have the luxury of getting a GPU that... No, that's not the right word. Of getting an APU capable that would have fit in the 1700 socket. If only Panther Lake was 1700 compatible. But Intel decided not to focus on budget gamers and focus on the Ramageddon and make what's most profitable for them right now, laptops. Here we have our power supply unit. It is from Thermaltake, and this is something we've been using for centuries. Down from the centuries ago of 2018, actually maybe farther, when Haswell was still new. Why do they still make these things? God don't know. Am I happy they still make them? Yes, I am. These things are the cheapest things without actually blowing up. And since power supplies don't really change over time, in terms of actual just sucking in, the components sucking in power, they should work pretty fine. Oopsie. There we go. Screwing it in, screwing it in. I'm probably going to edit some cringe lo-fi music in here because I don't know what to do. Let's talk about... No way. Did they update the ketchup and mustard cables? Hold on for a second. I need to get another possible. Marley, the ketchup and mustard cables were really changed from this PSU. Going back to the new one, they did change it. Oh my god, this is news. This is news. Which is really good, actually. I was really hoping that they changed. I wasn't really expecting, I wasn't even hoping that they would change this. I just hope it worked. And obviously it isn't, not gonna be used over extension cable sleeves, because like look at this stuff is not holding together really well. But black is definitely better than ketchup and mustard, or maybe they ran out of ketchup and mustard to use and just had to resort to sesame oil. So let's get everything installed. Ow. Let's sure system solid IO shield. This IO shield is going to make me bleed. It is thin metal. It is not cushioned at all. Oh, there is so much to go wrong. And nothing went wrong. Now let's install the board. let's plug in the fan first. There we go. Now let's screw down everything. And because we don't really like screwing down montages, I'm just gonna cut it out. Fully assembled ish. Still got a lot of cable management to do, but we got our SSD in. And ish, we got our GPU in, and we got our CPU in. Now we will be using a different SSD for testing, of course, but we will be using the Silicon Power 112 gig SSD in here. For the sake of our build, let's total this up. Well, I'm gonna total it up in editing because I'm too lazy to get everything off the top of my head. But anyways. Something, 500 bucks. Let's go with that for now. What the fuck is this? We're gonna rip you apart now. So even after repasting it, the CPU still kind of overheats. So, I mean, 95 is not overheating, but like, what the heck? So we're gonna get a Hyper 2-tail from Micro Center, or whatever's cheapest. Questionable enough, I have to keep buying these things. Questionable enough, I don't have a way to open it. Mine. Everything we should theoretically need for a monokit. Thermalite cooler, thermalite tower. One issue though. I don't think we're gonna have to remove the motherboard to access this cases. To access this case, to access our Jim Dandy's and our motherboards, our motherboard's mounting access, cause that ain't squeezing in, chief. And you can't see at this angle, so the holes are supposed to go here, but yeah, this is what happens when case designers don't plan for future motherboards. Well, let's skip to the part where I install it, because I'm pretty sure no one actually watches the installation sequences I make. In WoW's 1080p very ultra settings, we see that our little 12100F and RTX 2070 are doing pretty well. The 2070 was often paired with the i7 7000K when it was brand new, and the i3 12100F is equivalent of the 7700K. Although I would definitely call the i3 a more better option. Actually, it is a little bit faster. I'll show the performance gap in a moment. But anyways, the i3 12100F is usually paired up with RX 6600s, cheap 3060s, or 4060s if you're feeling weird, or a brand new 5060 if you're even weirder and hate money. But nothing wrong with pairing up the i3 with a 2080 Ti or a 2070, as even though the card will draw a lot more power, the i3 barely drinks 64 watts, or maybe 80 when it goes up to boost. Depends on your motherboard. Although most presumably you won't be, if you're getting an i3 build, you won't be getting a B760 to pair with it, so most likely you'll get a cheap B610M, and that would be capped at 65 watts. And if you dare to uncap it, oh, you're gonna have some VRM heart explosions. Anyways, let's see how it handles in another title. In Cyberpunk 1080p ray tracing low, we see that our 2070 is doing pretty decently.
and then our i3 is being decently utilized. After all, it is sorry for that. I just had a moment to think to myself. But anyways, our i3 is a 4-core, 8-thread CPU and a B660M mobo, which is actually kind of problematic, as this is not even a 14th gen i3. This is a 12th gen i3 boosting, but it's not boosting that much. And it's also an i3. Like, why would you spend money on a B660 or 760M when you can just pair an i3 with a B610M and call it a day, because it doesn't need to draw any more wattage than that. But anyways, if you're gonna do something similar with an LGA 1700 socket and DDR4, and you're gonna pick a decent, nice motherboard from Amazon or eBay or any other sites, don't get an i3. Why? Well, you're gonna get a decent motherboard, so you're gonna get decent VRM capacity. So something nice, something that can utilize that decent VRM capacity. No, that's not a justification to go dump your money in an i9 12900KS. It is your call that if you pick up such a motherboard, you can pick a decent CPU like the i5 12400. Or if you're feeling posh, you can pick the 14600K, which I actually have in a different build, except that poor i5 is stuck at 65 watts, stuck on a B610M from ASRock, and has no NVMe support. What lame. As for our RTX 2070, it does pretty decently in Cyberpunk with decent ray tracing. It's almost as if this game came out at the same time as the 20 series, but the 20 series never had the capacity to even function nicely in Cyberpunk, and Cyberpunk is still being updated for optimizations. If you're going to go to the stock cooler route like I initially did, make sure you set the BIOS setting to be limited to 65 watts. Because the minute this little tiny i3 starts boosting, oh boy, you're in a world of hurt.
I mean, I really shouldn't have sent that motherboard back to MSI, because it was broken, and now I have to RMA it. So now this video is over. No final thoughts, no nothing, no third benchmark, because it died before I can get there. So while I'm waiting for the warranty to do its thing, leave a like if you like the video, leave a comment if you have a criticism, leave a dislike if you didn't, and subscribe. I already said that.